So my plan is to tell you the continuation of my story of first visit to Georgia, and it continues with my visit to Armenia, as I was supposed to be responsible for, and I was later on responsible for Georgia and Armenian markets. Then during my look and see visit, it was arranged for me to visit Armenia as well. And in my memory, it is a constant, like a just driving type of an event. Driving car, sitting long in a car. So in that respect, having this video from a car maybe is even symbolic or synergized. So so my manager Jim Kennedy, he through hotel rented cars. In my memory, 2 white Mercedes-Benz cars. Not sure why it was 2, but anyway, it was 2 cars, and in my memory, and we went, and it was very early start. Again, I don't remember exactly, but in my feeling, it was like we're waking up like maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, not having hotel breakfast, but maybe something from hotel to be taken with us, and we kicked off to Yerevan, and as I was describing in my previous series, going to Georgia or going to Caucasus was quite an experience due to very different lifestyle or level of living in between Baltics and sort of my personal experience. Even though Baltics were pretty young independencies, and I was quite young, just starting to build up whatever type of a living standard of myself from just not long ago being a quite poor student and still kind of on the mode that you think from your payday to payday. But even though the differences in life standard or life level, like living standard, were quite surprising and or shocking for me, and so we kicked out to Yerevan, and many of you who have been traveling to Yerevan in those years, or even many years later, know that last maybe 30 kilometers were done through a road that basically you could tell that it used to be a road. I mean, it was not just bad, it was not existent. You could tell that there used to be a road, because in some cases you would go through a village and then you would have buildings on both sides, or you would have trees growing on both sides, so there was something between those trees. I mean it was not having any repairs for last maybe 20 years, and maybe even somebody was destroying it on purpose, but it was awful. It was like the normal, if you go by the normal car, the speed it would be 5 kilometers an hour or maybe less, because car would go from one hole to another, and it was like slowly descending into the hole and then accelerating to get out of the pitfall and on the road, and then going from one to another. Later on, when I had my company tank, that I would be driving quite faster on that road, but not with a a regular car. And so that was first sort of wow. Because in Tbilisi it was still kind of okay street street covers, and then you understand that you are going to a border crossing with another country, which normally you kind of those parts are normally even better than the other parts. And then we got through the Georgian-Armenian border. Apparently, I was able to get my visa on the Armenian border, and my Georgian visa backwards again. So apparently, I was able to do this on the border. I'm gonna tell a story about crossing Armenian border somewhere later on, because this time we were going with the chauffeurs and with drivers, and in those cases you have the luxury of having somebody to take care of all the paperwork and all the things. So I don't remember whether we even stepped out of the cars to do the border crossing, but it still takes time, because they still need to do all the process, and so it was quite a waiting on that not very nice looking border. And then another contrasting experience as we kicked out from Armenian border stop, which looked much more impressive than Georgian one. It was okay road. It was absolutely okay road. It was nothing fancy, just two-way, both directions road, was normal tarmac or black cover, so the first impression about Armenia, that is, infrastructurally much better off, and at that time the main road to Yerevan went through Spitak, and that's how we went, and a pretty picturesque road. You're going uphill and downhill, but still it's quite slow, because up and down, and those cars were probably not very powerful, or lost their glory well ago, and so it was very slow drive. I think we went like maybe 5-6 hours to get there, and 5-6 hours to get back, and so anyway, getting into Yerevan was another contrasting experience versus Tbilisi. Not getting into details, but if Tbilisi looked pretty poor, was again the Soviet car fleet, which is maybe not the big difference versus Yerevan, but still, I mean, Tbilisi looked like nobody really cares how it looks. So it was not many places where you would see that somebody takes care of parks or something. So it was like if somebody, an owner of a house or a shop, had some repairs, then it was done. But otherwise, it was like whenever it was painted in '87 or '81. That's how it was more or less looking, and. Then Yerevan looked like, much more tidier streets and parks and buildings and maybe some other things, that looked like, infrastructurally, economically, this is a much better, and some shops with the brand names on, and some sort of ideas around the design and something like that. So we were met up by director of local distributor, and we were again led around the shops and markets and everything, and there was constant boasting about how powerful and important and great is their company, because they have a partnership with this company and that company, and they're producing juice and they have pizza restaurant and everything. But a part of the boasting, well, there was this pizza restaurant, and there was this juice, and there was this drink, and there was this production. This is something that we were not really seeing much in Georgia. That they're pretty, as I said in my previous story, there were not many places that you would bring your foreign guests. Even though, of course, you could have something to eat in Tbilisi, but still, it was not very nice looking, or very designed, or very was maybe tasty, or in most cases it was tasty, but still. So, yeah, and of course another thing is that that if in Georgia, distributor was just a common business person. I mean, even with all his very high logical leadership, business type of skills, he was just a businessman. He was just a businessman. In Armenia, haven't been in Armenia for last 6 years, don't know, 5-6 years, don't know how it is now, but in Armenia, basically, if you had a big business or serious business in that way or another, you would be related to some political presence. So basically, all of the people who are in big business were that or another way related to political presence, and that was also the case with our Armenian distributor. They were part of a sort of a holding. I'm not sure whether it was legally holding, but anyway, logically it was a holding company. Was distributor and was some production, and then the pizza house and all that stuff, so that there was in the head of this conglomerate, there was a guy whose nickname was Gurzo, a very interesting person, yeah. So that was also a big difference. In Georgia, we had just a businessman. I mean, when I'm not giving him full credit when I'm saying just a businessman, a fantastic, brilliant, and very talented businessman, but still a businessman. And there we had a company that was assembled around the political power, which was the case for any other decent business around there. And of course, we had dinner with Gurzo, and which took part not in a restaurant. It took part in their personal reception hall or celebration hall. So we went to a place where is the main office, and then next to that, behind the gates, behind security, there was an entrance to this celebration hall, and there was waiting, and it was pretty formal reception. So I don't know whether we were very early or they were very late, but we were just waiting, and we were kind of hungry, and it was pretty late, and in my memory, we were not staying in Yerevan during that trip, so I kind of think we were also on hurry to start the road back. And then it was pretty formal dinner, with pretty formal reception. Was like you can imagine reception with any other politician who's not very much. I mean, both sides just have to do it. It's not like we both want to do it; we just have to do it. And that was contrasting versus Georgia in the sort of negative direction, because in Georgia, Kibar and all people around, they were really interested to meet us and spend time with us, and they were very kind of into into building business type of minds. And in Yerevan, it was like we have to bow to this guy, and we have to bow to this guy, and yeah. So that was contrasting in the sense how formal it was. It wouldn't be contrasting if we wouldn't have that Georgian experience before. It wouldn't be that much contrasting. Yeah. So, but another thing that I want to kind of underline maybe in this story is that if in Georgia it looked like, okay, we have a normal business partner with the whatever set of skills and abilities and interests and motivations, and here we have powerful guys as business partners, and it seemed that Yerevan is much more thriving place because of all the whatever branded shops or sort of branded shops that you would see on the streets. It was still pretty shabby versus anything in Europe or even Baltic capitals, but it was looking much better. And Yerevan itself, actually the center of Yerevan is with those huge buildings, as this is pretty much newly built city, was giving that impression of sort of wow, again, mostly on the basis of previous experience from Georgia. I'm gonna tell you more or less where and why those differences in perception came from, and how much truth is behind this visual image in future series. One more interesting thing is that back then in '98, that was my first encounter with hand sanitizer. I had no idea that there's such a thing existing, and then on the road back, I don't know whether we took a technical break or drivers had something to eat, and they were ready to share with us. But Jim had this small bottle of hand sanitizer, and he used it on his hands, and maybe he shared it with us as well or something. But that's when I learned that such a thing exists. And again, in my memory, it was like just a one-day trip, and we came back very, very late in night. Again, another 5 or 6 hours of driving, still with all the border control and spending time on border. It was not quick. I mean that border was not quick for many, many years to come. Not sure whether it is quick or 100% quick now, but it was long. You would normally spend an hour on a border, more or less. And so now me and you, we know why we had to start so early, because it was like I said, it was like 11, 12 hours on the road, and then you still had to do all the road trip itself, like see shops and meet people and see warehouse and everything. So another thing, of course, that was visible in Yerevan was that Armenian business is significantly smaller than Georgian business, of course, based on whatever the office maybe looked slightly better, or the warehouse maybe was even bigger, but and their stories about how they will increase and improve were maybe more colorful, but still the amount of goods that they had, or the amount of people that they had, was significantly smaller than Georgian, and that was a mystery for me for some while to come. How is it possible that these are pretty similar countries, but the business is like very, very, very small. So in the series to come. So the next one the next series that will come up will be about my first trip to Georgia with the purpose to stay. So basically my arrival to Tbilisi with my family, and fitting into and then finding a right apartment and moving into that apartment, and then there will be stories on how we were living and what we were experiencing during that time. So thank you for watching this, and see you in series to come. Have a good day again. Bye bye.